as you need to. Okay, so we have number one. Number one is just doing the simplification. So what you're going to do is you're going to combine like terms. So 8x minus 5 plus 2x. So all you're doing is simplifying it. So what is 8 plus 2x is what your question is that you are going to solve. So this goes together with this, and it's 8 plus 2 is 10x minus 5. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
All right. Number 2 is 2.5w minus 3y plus 4w. 2.5w goes with plus 4y. That's 6.5w minus 3y. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3 is 3 and then parentheses. So this tells me that I have to distribute. Whenever the number is right next to the parentheses, we distribute this 3 in. So 3 times 5 is 15, and then 3 times negative 2n is negative 6n plus 9n. Now we have negative 6n plus 9n that go together. We have a positive 9 and a negative 6. Biggest integer wins a sign. Biggest integer is a positive, so I know my answer is going to be positive. Then I have a positive and a negative. So I'm going to subtract the integers. 9 minus 6 is 3n, and then plus 15. Or we could do 15 plus 3n.
Yeah.
All right, next one is 5/7x plus 15 minus 9/14x minus 9. So this is a lot to look at, but if we take it piece by piece, it's not a big deal. So this is 5/7 x minus 9/14x.
Mhm.
So we're going to do 5/7 minus 9/14. And I already know that my answer is going to be negative because biggest fraction wins the sign, right?
Mhm.
So I find my common denominator. Oh, and it turns out I'm wrong. This is, does that make sense? So this looks like it's going to win the sign.
Oh, no, but it's not.
So then I say biggest fraction wins the sign. It's a positive 10, and then minus 9 is 1/14 x.
Mhm.
And then I have a positive 15 with a negative 9. Biggest integer wins the sign, so my answer is going to be positive. And then I have a positive and a negative, so I subtract. So it's plus 6.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's all I can do. I can't go any further than that. Okay. You with me so far?
Yes.
All right. Now, number 5 is 3j plus 11 plus 8j minus 7. So we're going to combine like terms. These two go together, and these two go together. 8 plus 3 is 11j, and then we have a positive and a negative, so it's plus 4, because biggest integer wins the sign. 11 minus 7 is 4.
Okay.
Next one is 3/4 times 8p plus 12 plus 3/8 16p minus 8. So we're going to go 3/4 times 8 over 1 because this has to be distributed. And it's 24/4, which equals 6p. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And then we're going to multiply 3/4 times 12 over 1, and that becomes 36/4, and that becomes 9. So this whole thing is going to be 6p plus 9, and then this is going to be 3/8 times 16 over 1. 16 times 3 is 48 over 8, which is 6p.
Okay.
And then this is 3/8 times -8 over 1. So I know my answer is going to be negative 24/8, which is -3. So it's 6p minus 3. Do you have questions about that? I know that's a lot.
Yeah, it still kind of makes sense in my head.
Okay, next one we'll do is number 8. I think 7 is easy. Well, I'll just do it. 2r minus 13 minus 6r plus 4. So 2r minus 13. This makes it a positive 6r because I distribute this here, and a negative times a negative equals a positive. Then I distribute this negative sign and it becomes -4. Now I have 2r and then I have -13 and -4. 2r plus 6r is 8r. -13 minus 4 is -17. Okay, number 8, -2.5 times 2s minus 5 minus 3, 4.5s minus 5.2. So we're going to distribute this. 2.5 times 2 is 5, and it's negative, so it's -5s. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
And then you do 2.5 times 5 is 12.5, and it's a positive because this negative and this negative makes a positive. So that is this part right here. Now we're going to do the same thing. 4.5 times 3, and it's negative. And then, oh, it's not negative. It's minus. Okay. So 15, 12, 13.5. S. And then we distribute this. It is negative, sorry. I have to see how it's written. So -3. Okay. 15.6. So this becomes 13.5s, and it is negative and then plus 15.6. So we put all of that together. It's just a lot to keep track of. So we had this at first, now we have this. So it's -5s plus 12.5 minus 13.5s plus 15.6. And then we combine like terms. And we have a negative and a negative, so it's -18.5s plus 28.1. And then that's as far as we can go on that one. Okay. So factoring out the coefficient, 3 is the common thing that happens in 3n minus 24, right? So 3 goes into n, and then 24 divided by 3 is 8. So what they're saying is, if you were to undistribute, what would be the common number that would be sitting outside the parentheses, or the common letter? So what 3 and 24 have in common is a 3. So you take the 3 out, and then what would be left here is n, and what would be left here if you were multiplying. So basically you do 24 divided by 3 to get the 8. I don't know. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Number 11 is 7x minus 3. So it says solve the equation and then check your solution. So we are going to do, they're multiplying, so you divide. Anything you do to one side, you do to the other. This cancels each other out. What's left on this side is -3/7. Now, to check our answer, we have to do 7x equals -3. So we first rewrite the equation, and then you plug in what you got for x.
Okay.
So you do 7 times -3/7.
Okay.
Like this. And you have to get this to equal -3. If it does not equal -3, then you did something wrong. So we're going to write 7/1 times -3/7 equals -3. Is that true? So I just write a question mark there to see, as I'm checking my answer, if it's true or not. 7 times 3 is -21 because this is a negative. Over 7, is it -3? Yes. Because 7 goes into 21 3 times. So what we're looking for is this all true? And then when you solve it, this side has to be the same as this side. That's what she's looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So next one is 12. So we have 2x plus 1 equals -2. So you're going to distribute because this parentheses is touching this number. 2x plus 2 equals -2. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. They're adding 2, so we subtract 2. Anything we do to one side, we do to the other. This cancels each other out. What's left on this side is 2x. And then -2 minus 2 is -4. They're multiplying 2 to x, so we divide. Anything we do to one side, we do to the other. This cancels each other out. X equals -2. To check my answer, I plug it into the original equation. So I rewrite it, and then I plug it in. Then I do order of operations, tells me to solve within the parentheses first. -2 plus 1 is -1 times 2 is our original equation, equals -2. Is that true? Yes. If you don't come out with the same number on both sides, then you have to redo the problem because you did something wrong. Okay, number 13. 2/9 g equals -8. When you have a fraction next to a letter like that, you're going to use the reciprocal, which means the numerator becomes the denominator and the denominator becomes the numerator. So you're going to do 9 halves, 9 halves.
Okay.
And then we're going to multiply this together. This cancels each other out. G is left on this side. And then we have -8 times 9 halves. Do you know how to cross cancel?
Yeah.
36 over 1. Negative, because we have a negative and a positive. So now we do 2/9 g equals -8, which is our original problem. And then we do 2/9 times -36 over 1 equals -8. Is that true? So -72 over 9 equals -8. And then we divide this out. -8 equals -8. Am I correct? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we have z plus 14.5 equals 5.4. They're adding 14.5, you subtract 14.5. Anything you do to one side, you do to the other. This cancels each other out. Z equals 5.4, and then you have 14.5. We know that the negative wins, so it's going to be a negative. And then I have a positive and a negative, so I'm actually going to subtract the decimals. Sorry, that doesn't look like a 3, but it is. And now we're going to do 8.1 plus 14.5. And this is negative. Does that equal 5.4? It does not. 15.
Oh,
6.4.
no.
So, what did I do? Z plus 14.5 equals 5.4. We subtract 14.5, 14.5, and then we do 14.5 minus 5.4. Oh, equals 9.1. I don't know what I did there. Sorry about that.
Good job, Kat.
Okay, and then next one is negative 14 equals 6C. So they're multiplying, so we do the opposite. We divide. Anything we do to one side, we do to the other. What's left on this side is C, and then we simplify so we can find a common number that goes into 14 and 6, which is 2. So we do divided by 2, divided by 2, it equals negative 7/3. Then we do 6C equals negative 14. 6 times negative 7/3 is, plug it in, negative 42 over 3 equals negative 14. So this is actually a good example. I did a stupid error and it showed in my answer, which means I have to go back and fix it. So there's no way that you can get any of these wrong because you have to go back and fix it because you've got the wrong answer. So it's actually a good example of we got the wrong answer and then we had to go back and find the error to make it right. So that's the good news. If you check your answer like this, there's no way you could get it wrong. Okay. And then we do 3 goes into 42 one time. So negative 14 equals negative 14. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, number 17. Write an expression in simplest form that represents the income from W women and M men getting a haircut and a shampoo. Okay, so a haircut is $45 for women, and a haircut is $15 for men. A shampoo is $12 for women and $7 for men. So they want us to write an expression in simplest form that represents the income from W women and M men getting a haircut and a shampoo. So what this means is we have 45W plus 15M plus 12W plus 7M. So this is the equation, and then they want us to do it in simplest form. So I'm not sure about what this question is asking, actually, because I don't know if they're saying that at this salon they get a haircut and a shampoo together, like most places. And then we would combine the W's and we would combine the M's. So I'm going to assume that when someone goes to the salon, they get a haircut and a shampoo. So we would be able to combine these. Does that make sense? The other alternative is leaving them separate, because you could just go there and get a shampoo and you could just go there to get a haircut. But I'm going to assume that they get swished together, because most of the time that's what it is. So the question is a little bit unclear of what they're asking, but I'm going to assume that that's what they're saying. In which case we would combine the 45 with the 12, and it would be 57W plus 22M. And what this means is that if 6 women that day go in and get a haircut and a shampoo, we would do 57 times 6. And if 4 men came in that day, we would plug in the 4, and that would give us what they made in a day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? Hopefully that's what they're talking about, and they're not saying that some people could just come in for a shampoo and some people could just come in for a haircut. I'm pretty sure that's not what they're saying. So does that make sense? And then when you did 57 times 6, they made $342 on women's haircuts and shampoos, and they made $88 on men's haircuts. So we would know that for that day, they made $430. Is that clear how I got the 45W and the 15M and the 12W and the 7M?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Were there any that I just did, I know we went quickly, that you did not understand?
Not really, no. They made more sense than they did last time.
It what?
They made more sense than it did last time.
Okay. All right. A runner is compared with the world record holder during a race. A negative number means the runner is ahead of the time of the world record holder, and a positive number means that the runner is behind. Does that make sense to you? If they have +5, that means that they were 5 seconds over the time.
Yeah.
So in this, it's like golf. You want the lowest score possible. So a negative is good in this situation. The table shows the time difference between the runner and the world record holder for each lap. What time difference does the runner need for the 4th lap to match the world record? So the time difference was 1.23, 0.45, 0.18. And so you would find out what the time difference is. What we would want is for the time difference between the runner and the world record holder. So if this is a negative number, that means that this person was faster than the record, and this means that they were slower and slower. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we want to have them beat the other person, they would have to beat them by just 1 second, right? So, so far they have 1.23 in their favor, but then we would take that 1.23 and we would subtract 0.45 and we would subtract 0.18. So that leaves them with 0.6 seconds to spare. So in the fourth lap, they would have to get what score to be, they can't be at 0 because 0 would be a tie with the other person. So what would they have to be? They would have to be, if they got a 0.6, they would be at a tie. Does that make sense to you?
Uh-huh.
So let's see. It does make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so they have a 1.23 minus 0.45 minus 0.18 minus 0.5. If they got a 0.5 on the fourth round, they would be 1 second ahead or 1 second behind. So we have 0.45 plus 0.18 plus 0.5. It would be 1.13. And they just need to be ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could be anything around that. But they're asking what's the minimum score that they could be. That they just have to beat them, right?
Yeah.
So we would do 1.23 and then 0.45 plus 0.18 would give us 0.63. So 1.23 minus 0.63, 0.6, 0.5, 0.61. It could be anything like that. So he would have to get like a 0.5. If he got a 0.5 or better, right? He could get a 5.999, but I don't think they're looking for you to go that. Just 0.5 would probably be good. Then they would win.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That is all we have time for. I just recorded all of this